Good morning. Well, we live in a country where at least there is some control. But is the control effective on the venal, greedy, rapacious politicians? Recently, two events took place. One at the federal level and other at the provincial level. At the provincial level, Kathleen Wynne, Chief of Staff, has been charged for bribery. So has been the recently elected MPP from Sudbury. Well, that is something good. But then I was shocked when I saw the statement of Deb Matthews, the health minister, that people don't care whether we are dishonest or not. People are more concerned with other things than with our honesty. That was an open invitation to be dishonest. And another thing, Kathleen Wynne admitted that she has fixed quotas for the ministers to collect money. The ministers are supposed to collect money and there are quotas fixed for them. And it's rumored that it is as high as 500,000 per minister. At the federal level, on the 7th of November, the chief of Apotex is holding a dinner for the finance minister, and the ticket is $500, and that money is meant to be given to the finance minister. Recently in Halifax, a dinner was held, $1,500 per plate, and the money was given to the finance minister. The Federal Liberal Party has very finely refined a subject. Payment for access. You want to meet the minister, you pay for it. Now in this party in Halifax and the forthcoming in Ottawa, which is being done by Apotex, all the corporates guys would be there and they are paying to meet the finance minister, and naturally when they are paying through their nose to have a small meeting with the finance minister, is a thin edge of the wedge. They meet and then on and on the further meetings, and $500 might be converted into much more. Favors asked for, favors granted. Favors for the favors returned. And the outgoing ethics commissioner was very vocal, very clear when she said that it is unsavory, it is unpalatable, it is unacceptable, it leaves a sour taste in the mouth. But she lamented the fact that she is aware that this is wrong, but she cannot do anything. However, the lobbying commissioner has started an inquiry into this payment for access dinners. Now, this is a very refined way, I must say. Credit goes to the Canadian politicians for refining corruption and giving it a proper name, giving it a proper nomenclature. It's not just bribery, no, it's payment for access. What a fine name for nepotism. What a fine name for corruption. I wish the people in the so-called corrupt countries like India, Pakistan, Nigeria, and others, would be so capable to give their corrupt practices a genteel name, a sophisticated name. When the federal government, the present federal government came in power last year, in the last year, November, fully 1 year back, they came up with guidelines for good government and accountable government. And those guidelines, according to Mary Dawson is the ethics commissioner, who said that these dinners, this fundraising is unsavory, unpalatable. And Mary Dawson says that those guidelines adopted by the government itself have been violated time and again. But she has no control on that. Guidelines were there, but effective control or effective check of the guidelines is not there. So public is happy that guidelines are there. The government is so honest. They have laid down the guidelines for being accountable. Who holds them accountable? If the finance minister is a party to it, if the chief of the staff of the premier is a party to it, and when the deputy premier says, well, it's okay to be corrupt because the people do not value for that, then who is to implement the guidelines? Who is to see that the guidelines are being followed? Shocking. You are shocked? I am not. I am not shocked because you are aware and yet are quiet. The voters know that they are being looted day and night, and there is not a murmur. They know they are being raped, and they accept the rape. This is bidding goodbye to our social duty, to our national duty, and also to our conscience. When we do not protest against something which is wrong, when we accept it quietly, then we are a party to that. By keeping quiet, by accepting, we give our consent. So the rape becomes a consensual sexual act. The robbery doesn't remain a robbery. It becomes a transfer of funds from our pockets to their pockets, because they have consented to that. I shudder. I shudder to think, is this the role of the politicians? Honestly speaking, I have always thought, though I am aware in the long public service of 50 odd years, I have seen corruption, but I'm pained that the corruption is growing. It's not coming down. And it's not only growing, it's spreading. There was a time when the West, countries like Canada, used to be looked upon as models of virtue, of honesty, of integrity. Where are they gone? Where are they gone? Where are the models? Where are the ideals? Countries like India, Pakistan, we know it. It down to the earth. A person in rags becomes a politician. And not in years, not in months, but in days, he becomes a multi-millionaire. Is the same thing not happening here in Canada? The difference may be difference of degree, but is it of kind? Corruption is corruption, whether it's 1 cent or whether it's $1 billion. Corruption. This is a betrayal of the trust. When we elect our leaders, we trust them to perform well. And this is a betrayal. Now, what's did it? We know the problem. We have identified the problem. The ethics commissioner says that it's unsavory, but she also pleads her inability to do anything. One thing is good, that the lobbying commissioner has started an inquiry into this unsavory funds, what they call it, payment for excess dinners, payment for excess fundraisers. So she has started an inquiry, but let's not forget that that inquiry does not have any teeth to bite. It can only give a report. The report would be filed, would be submitted to the government, filed and forgotten. Mothballed, that's what they call it. Push it under the carpet, that's what they call it. And that's what would happen to the inquiry and the report. So what we need is a mechanism that an authority, the ombudsman, the watchdog that be appointed, would be independent of the control of the Prime Minister. He'll have the powers like the special prosecutor in USA to investigate and present the case to a specially formulated court of law, which shall see whether the guidelines have been violated or not, and if they have been violated, give instant decisions. And the whole process should be time-bound. That is one part. The second part is you have to wake up. As I said earlier, when you keep quiet, you are giving consent to it. You have got to wake up and assert your rights. Your right not to be raped. Your right not to be robbed. Your right to protect your life, liberty, and property. And here your liberty and property both are in danger. When corruption starts at one, it's like cancer, you know. Once it starts, then it starts spreading. And unless you take immediate steps, it becomes fatal to the body politic. It becomes fatal to your morality. It becomes fatal to your values. It becomes fatal to your very existence as a human being. You will continue to live all right, but would you be a real human being? Would you be really a democratic country, a fully dedicated to the human values and the humane values? No. So you have to make a choice. You can say, well, what can we do? You can do a lot. You are the voter and you are the kingmakers. Unfortunately, what happens in these democracies is, whether it's back home in your countries or in your adopted country, that you do not realize your capability. You do not realize your strength. You keep quiet, saying, what can we do? Oh, it happens all the time. Oh, that's the way the things goes. No. It happens because you let it happen. Don't forget. As kingmakers and the masters of your destiny, you have a right to protect not only yourself but your coming generations. You are being dishonest to yourself and you are being dishonest to your further generations. You know, imagine it. Your ethics commissioner says it's wrong. But has the Prime Minister said anything? No. Has the Governor General said anything? You would say he's a ceremonial post. Yes. But as the representative of the head of the state, the Governor General has a right to say, call the Prime Minister and tell him, well, look here, this is not acceptable. He can advise him to do something. But no, he won't do it. Because he himself is a creature of the same system. The system is good. The working is wrong. we have got to change the working. So what we need is, A, you have got to wake up. B, we have to put a strong system of checks and balances. The king can do no wrong is a concept which is no longer acceptable. The Prime Minister should not only face the electorate once in 4 years, but he should be facing the Ombudsman, the Ethics Commissioner on a regular basis, and the actions and the reports of these commissioners, Integrity Commissioner, Ethics Commissioner, Lobbying Commissioner, Human Rights Commission, should have the force of the judgment of Supreme Court. Those reports should be justiciable, and the RCMP should be authorized to act suo motu and take action on the reports of the Ethics Commissioner, Integrity Commissioner, Budget Officer, and other such functionaries. Given that there is some hope, rather there is much hope then, that the country can survive as a paragon of virtue, as the promised land of integrity and honesty. Barring that, the difference between this country and the other countries would be the difference between Tweedledee and Tweedledum. And we don't want to be that. The political corruption is being institutionalized by the concept of payment for access. And as evident by the statement of Deb Matthews, that the people wouldn't bother about this. Bribery is acceptable because people are more concerned with the health and other things. Little do we forget that one does not preclude the other. Yes, we are concerned for the health. Yes, we are concerned for the infrastructure. Yes, we are concerned for the education. Yes, we are concerned for the hydro. But we are also concerned with the political honesty and fairness. Let this message go home. Let there be a clarity of thought that a person who is honest can deliver. A person who is personally dishonest and is more interested in raising funds and even goes to the extent of having fundraisers to collect payment for access is not fit for the job. Let's be very clear. Minister virtually means servant, to minister to the needs, to cater to the needs. And what sort of servant it is who wants payment to meet him? They should be easily accessible to everybody. If you have to make payment for access, can there be anything more shameful and exploitative? Then tell me what was wrong with monarchy. If this is democracy, I'll any day prefer monarchy. At least I did not have to go through the hypocrisy of voting and electing hungry, greedy, venal, avaricious, rapacious people to rule me and to ruin me. So, friends, ball is once again in your court and also in the court of the legislators. Let them come up with guidelines having teeth, not just guidelines written on the paper. As I'll just quote the last line of the famous poem of Tagore. Into that heaven of freedom, let my country awake. I hope that heaven shall be corruption free, shall be based on integrity, honesty, shall be based on the concept of service of the people and the upliftment of the people, not service of the self. It shall be service before self and not self before service. Think about it. Wake up. Wake up today.